An Oscar-winning film has already shown one of the chapters that explains the tense relationship between the United States and Iran. In Argo, we witness the desperation of 6 Americans trying to escape an Iran swallowed by flames. Crowds invade the United States Embassy in Tehran. Protesters scaled the gates and burned American flags. But what happened to make thousands of people so furious that they would invade and destroy international diplomatic territory? The truth is that, before becoming mortal enemies, Washington and Tehran enjoyed a political and economic romance that lasted decades. So today, in this 10-minute brief, you will know what the CIA was doing in the 70s in Iran, and how it might have been one of the triggers for the coming of the Iranian theocracy. In the 1950s, the scenario in the Persian Gulf was completely different from what we see today. Iran was the United States' primary ally. The country was governed by a monarch who admired Western culture and was seen as Washington and London's great commercial partner in the region, Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. However, Iranians were dealing with a problem. The oil from their own territory did not belong to them. Exploitation and profits were almost entirely in the hands of a British company, the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, which would later become British Petroleum. Until, in 1951, the Iranian parliament elected a new prime minister, nationalist and immensely popular. Mohammad Mossadegh made a decision long desired by many in the country. He nationalized Iran's oil, expelling British control. In response, the CIA and British intelligence, fearing that Iran would align itself with the Soviet Union, orchestrated Operation Ajax. In 1953, a coup d'etat overthrew Mossadegh and returned absolute power to the Shah. With power restored, the monarch launched the so-called White Revolution. It was an aggressive program of modernization, industrialization, and westernization. But if you want to know about Pahlavi's regime, you can watch our video about Iran before the Islamic Revolution. We left the link in the description. And while you're doing that, take a few seconds to subscribe to our channel if you're liking this video. Also, hit the like button and drop a comment below letting us know what you think about the story. So, under Pahlavi, Iran was advancing technologically more than any neighboring country. Society experienced an unprecedented freedom. On the beaches of the Caspian Sea, Iranian women freely wore bikinis, something that, under the current regime, would result in imprisonment or death. But this modernization came at a price. The Shah tried to force the secularization of the state, setting aside the traditional Shia clergy. Moreover, the oil wealth became concentrated in the hands of a small elite. Social inequality, combined with repression and offense to Islamic traditions, created the perfect storm, which would eventually make Ruhollah Khomeini, an Ayatollah, a religious man, rise as the spiritual leader of an anti-Shah sentiment. Khomeini accused the Shah of being submissive to the United States and of destroying Iran's identity. Exiled in France, Khomeini called for a revolution, and by the late 1970s, the situation blew up. Millions of people took to the streets in strikes and massive protests. Unable to contain the uprising, the Shah fled the country in January 1979. Weeks later, Khomeini returned from exile, welcomed by enormous crowds. It was the end of the pro-Western monarchy and the birth of the Islamic Republic of Iran, a fundamentalist theocratic regime whose declared goal was the elimination of the State of Israel from the map. The trigger that definitely severed diplomatic relations occurred months after the revolution, when the United States agreed to receive the exiled Shah for medical treatment. The Iranian people saw this as a harbinger of a new coup. Students demanded the deportation of Shah Reza Pahlavi so that he could be tried in Iran. On November 1979, radicalized students invaded the American embassy in Tehran. More than 50 Americans were taken hostage for exactly 444 days. Amid this chaos, 6 American diplomats managed to escape and took refuge in the home of the Canadian ambassador. And this is where the plot of the movie Argo comes in. The CIA needed to get them out of a country overrun by militias. The brilliant and absurd solution was to create a fake Hollywood film production company. Disguised as a crew scouting locations for a science fiction film called Argo, the agents managed to board the 6 diplomats onto a commercial flight and get them out of Iran. The mission was a success, but the diplomatic damage was irreversible. The hostage crisis led the United States to cut relations and impose heavy sanctions, while Iran officially began calling the USA the Great Satan. 3 months later, American President Jimmy Carter authorized another audacious operation, Eagle Claw, to attempt to rescue another 52 Americans still held hostage by radicals inside the embassy. The plan this time was to send the newly created Delta Force in helicopters and aircraft to invade Tehran under cover of night. However, Eagle Claw was an unsuccessful operation, and the 52 remaining hostages would return to the US only in 1981, the same day of Ronald Reagan's inauguration, after a deal was finally made. But back when the students stormed the embassy in 1979, they had access to valuable CIA documents. The CIA shredder had broken down. Staff had used strip shredders instead, turning classified documents into ribbons of paper. So the revolutionaries recruited Iranian carpet weavers, people trained from childhood to reconstruct intricate patterns thread by thread to paste it all back together. It took years, but piece by piece, the picture came back. The result was an archive showing a deep network of espionage that was being used to control Iranian affairs. The files confirmed that the US Embassy was functioning as a regional intelligence hub, monitoring not just Iran but the USSR, Iraq, and Afghanistan. They showed the CIA tracking the Soviet-aligned Communist Party, watching for KGB operatives, cataloging the Iranians' military equipment down to the last aircraft. In other words, obsessively focused on the Cold War chessboard. What the documents didn't contain was equally revealing. There were no serious sources inside the mosques, the bazaars, or the opposition movements, exactly where the revolution was being planned. The CIA had agreed not to cultivate them. The Shah was too paranoid about independent American contacts inside his own country, and Washington valued the relationship too much to push back. The CIA analysts read Iran through a single lens, the belief that as countries grow wealthier, they naturally become more secular, more Western, more stable. By that logic, the Shah's Iran was a success story. What they couldn't see, because their framework had no category for it, was that millions of Iranians experienced the Shah's modernization as a cultural assault on their faith and identity. The Ayatollahs were actually commanders at every mosque in every city and village, a nationwide network the CIA simply wasn't watching. By the time the protest turned into a revolution, American intelligence knew everything about Iran's military and almost nothing about its people. Every day you see news from all around the globe, and there are many ways to look at world events. We get it. It's hard to keep up. Well, these analyses help you understand the bigger picture of the world. However, we still have so much more content. Longer productions that take on politics, culture, history, war. And if you don't want to miss them, click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen and we'll keep you updated. Don't forget to like, to hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and drop a comment below letting us know what you think about this story. See you in the next 10-minute brief.